been covered up to quite an extent. In this view, some people have been studying and have come forward to analyze Islamic economics. One of the main key points of Islamic economics is interest-free and its relevance to society and success of society today. To speak before you all, we have today, once again, Dr. Zakir Naik on the topic interest-free economy promulgated by the Quran. He'll basically be talking on the principles, and we will have a question-answer session after that where we review the implementation. There are two factors which come into play when we study any system. One is the basic principle or the program, and the second is how you're going to implement it. I would request Dr. Zakir to start his talk, which will be followed by the question and answer session on the topic. Dr. Zakir Naik.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah wa zaru ma baqi minar riba in kuntum mu'minin fa in lam tafalu فَذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَإِن تُبْتُمْ فَلَكُمْ رُءُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ لَا تَظْلِمُونَ وَلَا تُظْلَمُونَ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I welcome all of you with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May peace, mercy and blessings of Almighty Allah be on all of you. The topic of today's talk, as mentioned by the chairman, is interest-free economy promulgated by the Quran. The word riba is mentioned in the Quran no less than 8 times. It's mentioned in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 39. It's mentioned in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 161. It's mentioned in Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 130. It's mentioned thrice in the verse of Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 275, and in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 276, and in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 278. The word riba is mentioned in the Quran no less than 8 different times. The first time the word riba was revealed in the Quran was in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 39. It says that those who devour usury will have no increase with Allah, but those who give out in deeds of charity, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will have increase, and they will have a recompense multiplied. The word riba, the Arabic word riba, means an addition to or an increase over and above the original amount or the original size. In the Quran, it refers to as unlawful addition, and it means usury as well as interest. The first time the Quran mentions in the chronological order regarding riba, it does not say that it is prohibited. It only says, as I mentioned in Surah Rum, chapter number 30, verse number 39, that those who give out in usury will have no increase with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but those who give out in deeds of charity will have increase, and they shall have a recompense multiplied. Regarding riba, it is somewhat similar to what the Quran says about intoxicants. The prohibition of intoxicants was revealed in stages. The first time the Quran speaks about intoxicants is in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 219, and it says that when they asked thee concerning intoxicants and gambling, tell them, in it is some profit but great sin. The sin is greater than the profit. The first time the Quran reveals regarding intoxicants, it only said that in it is great sin and some profit. The sin is greater than profit. It did not prohibit us from consuming intoxicants. Later on, the second verse of the Quran to be revealed regarding intoxicants was of Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 43, which says that approach not your prayers with a mind befogged. Approach not your prayers when you are intoxicated. Finally, later on it was revealed regarding the prohibition of intoxicants in Surah Maida, chapter number 5, verse number 90, which says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe, innamal khamru wal maisiru, most certainly intoxicants and gambling, wal anzabu wal aslamu, dedication of stones, divination of arrows, Rujtum min amali shaitan, these are Satan's handiwork. These are abominations of Satan's handiwork. Fajtanibul lalakum tuflihun. Abstain from such handiwork that you may prosper. After this verse was revealed, barrels of intoxicants were thrown on the streets of Medina, never to be filled again. So the prohibition of intoxicants came in stages, in the same fashion. The first time the word riba was mentioned, it only said that you will have no increase with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next was to be revealed regarding riba was from Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 161, which says that for the iniquities of the Jews we made for them unlawful certain foods which were good and wholesome and which were lawful to them, because they hindered many from Allah's way, and they took usury which had been forbidden to them, which had been prohibited to them. So certain food which is mentioned in the Quran, that is meat of camel, of sheep, of goat, fat of the ox, of the hare, these particular thing, the meat of the camel, the meat of the rabbit, and the meat of the hare, and the fat of the ox, the sheep, and the goat, though it was good and wholesome, had been prohibited to the Jews, because they hindered many from Allah's way, and they took riba, they took usury, they took interest, though it was prohibited to them. Later on, the Quran says in Surah Al-Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 130, it says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe, La taqulu riba, devour not usury, Ad'afam muda'afatan, doubled and multiplied. O you who believe, devour not usury, doubled and multiplied, but fear Allah that you may really prosper.